facilities and pipelines and pumps and compressors, and the list goes on and on. But we have to do it right. And I'm sure there'll be a few questions on that. But this is something that we are on every single day, and it is not something that just happens. It's something that you have to guide, because if you don't guide it right, it could be a tremendously missed opportunity for people who have been in a terrible economic state for several generations, taking care of the most vulnerable. John Martin and Tracy Plouck. Tracy runs the Department of Mental Health. John Martin, Developmental Disabilities. Tracy came to me early and said, if we don't build a hospital in Cleveland and we put more money in the Northfield facility in Summit County, we can reduce our capital improvement needs, deliver better results to the patient. Well, from a political point of view, it's probably a pretty bad decision to not build that hospital, because we got a lot of grief. But you know what? For the people who have mental illness, it was a great decision, because they get more resources now. Tracy went up there to meet with the mayor. I think she thought I'd cave. Didn't you think I'd cave, Trace, huh, when you got there? You didn't? Okay, well, come on up and talk about the reaction from the NAMI, and where is John Martin with developmental disabilities. John, come on up here a little bit. The reason, folks, this is so important is, look, you know what's happened in this state in the past. Chop these programs. You know why? They got no constituency. They only have a big constituent of one. And he's up here watching. You don't run over poor people. You just can't do it. Or the mentally ill or the disabled. You cannot do it. And John's come in. He's been a big reformer. I've told him, John, tell us what you need. Do not let us, and it's been fantastic. I feel, Tracy, go ahead.
Well, everyone in this room knows that resources were finite in this budget, and it was really necessary to make the best decisions in order to serve folks in the least restrictive and best clinically appropriate environments. And if we had not made the decision with the hospital in Cleveland that we did, we would have had to take the resources from somewhere else in our budget, which would have been community mental health services. And I thought that that was an untenable decision to make. So we've moved forward. The hospital was closed at the end of June, and folks have been relocated successfully to Northfield, which is in northern Summit County. But with that said, our core focus this year and going forward is community mental health services, and what we can do to protect and augment how we're delivering mental health services through partnerships and thinking as strategically as possible about the resources that we have, regardless of what that resource level is. And I've been working in great partnerships with the boards and with the providers to say any additional investment that comes to us in any way, shape, or form, whether it be public-private partnership or additional state resources or folks locally saying, hey, I've got a little bit more over here. The more that we can do together to create an economy of scale that might transcend some specific communities and actually reach a broader area is really the way to go, because that's the more strategic way to use the resources. Housing is something that's really important to me, but if you have a specific housing need in one community and you've only got a couple folks to serve, if you partner with someone who is in an adjacent area, you can actually stretch those resources further. So that's the kind of cooperation that we're attempting to engender, and I think that people are generally very excited about this and see great opportunity. So I appreciate the support that we had during the budget from the governor and from both houses of the General Assembly, and I really think that we need to continue to work in partnership to be as impactful as possible.
Let me hit the nail on the head on what she's saying, because it doesn't really say it exactly. If you're working in a county and you got a nice job, and you can work with somebody in another county, and maybe your title is changed, but you're going to save a lot of money, please do it. Do not put turf or silos in the front of who we're trying to deliver these services to. NAMI was out here last week, National Association for the Mentally Ill, and I told them that, you know, we're going to do the best we can. There'll never be enough money for all this. But you know, John Martin has driven this inside of developmental disabilities. We want to, you know, you want to talk, you get a guy. You want to get something done, you get a woman. And it's the women inside of developmental disabilities that have driven this change. And he can illustrate exactly what it is that Tracy is pushing for here.
Well, thank you, Governor. As I think a lot of you know, our system serves some of Ohio's most vulnerable citizens, and some of whom need a lifetime of support, and others who just need a little push, a little help to help them get a job and be more independent. And one of the things that we've been doing, and that Tracy alluded to, is working with our local county boards so that in this very tight economic environment, we are reducing administrative costs and overhead so that services to our most vulnerable citizens are not jeopardized. And so we have some really neat examples where a couple county boards have shared a superintendent, and from the money saved from doing that, they've been able to serve 5 individuals on waivers that were not served before. And we're starting to see that replicated across the state, as well as working with stakeholders to get folks out of more expensive segregated settings into less cost-effective and more integrated into the community sorts of settings, which is what people want. And in addition, we've got some new technologies in our waiver and a new waiver, again, to help with more cost-effective services in this difficult economic environment. So we, too, appreciate your support, Governor, of all of our field. And, again, as you know, the work gets done by somebody other than me.
You know, John has a son who's severely developmentally disabled, and when I first met John, he told the story of trying to help his child to chew. You want to complain? Think about his son and how he bit John's finger, and John had to come to realize the way in which he worked with his son when he ate. This is what we're talking about, folks. This is what we're trying to get more resources to so that mothers and fathers and these people who are in a tough position can be helped. And look, there's never going to be enough money. So it's just the way it is. It's life on earth. But we're going to do the best we can and get through, you know, and build a better system. For Tracy, we need better community mental health. We've released them all. Jim, you remember in the legislature, shut down all the institutions. At the end of the day, there were nowhere for them to go, so you see them standing on the street corner with a big trash bag filled with their clothes because they're living on the streets. And this is something we've got to do, and get more jobs in here, have more revenue. We can do better. Thank you both for being here. Okay, job wins. American Greetings, Bob Evans, Diebold, Omnicare, Chrysler, Republic Steel, Ford, Wendy's, BX, Amtrust, Ames, the new airport repair facility in Wilmington. Yep, Jobs Ohio is working, and is working to a large degree because we have a great leader over there, Mark Kwame. He's building a great team of people, working very closely with Chris Schmenk over at the Development Services Agency. And I'm going to let Mark give a little perspective of what he's seen here in the state, and I think he has a little video for you.
Great. Thank you very much. Well, it's been what a year. Thank you. What a year it's been. We've got a lot done, and it's been a real privilege working with everyone in this room. The governor's obviously highlighted many of you, but working with Scott Nally and Joe Testa and Chris Schmenk and everyone, and Sir Tim Keene, that's what I like to call him. Everyone in this room has just been fabulous, but it all comes from the leadership, our CEO, from the governor. And he really sat down and said, Cabinet, Mark, jobs are #1. So what are we going to do to go make that happen? And one thing that is pretty clear to me from the very beginning is we do not create jobs, but we do a phenomenal job of impeding job growth. And so let me give you the example that the governor just mentioned. The governor has a policy that if any of us have an idea or something where it's going to help us create jobs, we can interrupt it any time in any way. So I got a call from Nate Green, said, hey, we have this opportunity for 350 jobs near Toledo, Ohio. 350 jobs and $50 million of capital investment. There's only one problem. They're not going to come. I said, why? Well, they're not going to come because we allow them to bring Michigan loads in, 120,000 pounds per truck, and Ohio loads out, 80,000 pounds per truck. I see Jerry sitting right there. I literally pull him out of a meeting on the 30th floor. I said, Jerry, is one side of this road stronger than the other? And he said, I don't know. Let me check. So 90 minutes later, he gets back to us. And we called Menards up and said, we're going to do this. Took us a couple of months to put everything together, but we announced a little over a month ago, 350 new jobs. And if you add all of that up, as the governor said, we have created, been a part of creating 21,000 new jobs. Now, I think that's a very interesting number, 21,000 new jobs, and that's fantastic for 21,000 families. But it's close to $1 billion of new payroll. That $1 billion is going to be spent at the nail salon, at the pizza parlor, at the dry cleaners. It's going to be spent at all these places that really employ a ton of people. So you're going to start seeing that acceleration throughout the whole state. And one thing that's been really fun is working on all these different levels, but combining that with some really big deals. We're now on the map. The governor and I and Wayne and several others traveled down to Houston to see what was going on in job creation down there for the shale. I mean, we literally had 20 guys in a room. The governor asked, "What are you going to do in Ohio?" "We're going to invest." "How many jobs are you going to invest?" We went around the room. It was thousands and thousands of jobs. Now, we got to work very hard. We got to work on that. But there's a lot of opportunity outside the state. We are now going on the offensive. And I think the one big one that you all reported on is Sears. We all heard about Sears. One thing, yes, Sears has decided through special legislation in Illinois to stay in Illinois. But don't forget, we beat out every other state, including